All right, breaking news right now, a major outreach to the African-American community. You're seeing the back of the head right there of Republican nominee Donald Trump enjoying the music inside the Great Faith Ministries International Church there in Detroit. He arrived just moments ago. And you can hear as service is getting underway with music and with singing right now. Outside, quite the contrast. Lots of consternation outside. A number of protesters have gathered there, many of them yelling, "Dump Trump." This as Donald Trump either arrived or was presumably inside. The plan of the day is that Donald Trump would actually have a one-on-one taped interview with the Bishop Wayne Jackson, who's also the president of the Impact Network there, and that interview to be aired later on. But then today, Donald Trump would then, after that interview, be inside of the congregation meeting with them, enjoying services for today. So let's talk more about how this might impact. Will it impact Donald Trump's candidacy for the White House? Polling showing that his appeal to African Americans is hovering around 1%. I want to bring in right now politics editor for TheRoot.com and Morgan State University professor Jason Johnson, and CNN senior political analyst and senior editor for The Atlantic, Ron Brownstein. So as we look at these live pictures, gentlemen, first off, Jason, your impressions. You're here with me in Atlanta. Your impressions of what's taking place here, hearing protesters outside, but Donald Trump, his campaign saying it's not too little too late. At least he's showing an effort reaching out to the African American community this way.
I got to be honest, Fred, I'm not all that impressed. And the reason why is I don't think that any candidate deserves to be praised or getting credit for actually trying to go out and campaign. The situation, the protests outside and the reaction inside, these are all things that Donald Trump has caused on his own. When you decide that you want to show up at somebody's house at 11:55 and say, "No, I love you," and these are, gifts for Valentine's Day, of course they're going to be skeptical. And he has spent 18 months of his campaign being dismissive to different kinds of minority groups, and now he wants to show up. I don't think this makes that much of a difference. And to be honest, all the protests outside, I don't think it appeals to moderate or possibly wavering white swing voters. So, this is something that Trump wants to do. I don't see it having that much of an impact on the polls when the weekend's over.
And then, Ron, on the issue of skepticism, many people in the African-American community say they cannot forget that it's Donald Trump who started the whole birther movement. So it's very difficult to see how genuine he is about reaching out or appealing to African-American community, many of whom already feel very skeptical about him.
Right, that's a good point. I mean, and look, I think it is a valuable thing for Republicans to be competing for African-American votes, which hasn't always been the case. However, belatedly, but as you know, Donald Trump really has an enormous credibility problem that makes it very difficult to imagine him making many inroads, not only with the birther movement, with the kind of comments about David Duke, even the way he's portrayed the Black Lives Matter question with, unequivocally really siding with police as opposed to arguing that there needs to be an accommodation that increases trust on both sides. And of course, as Michael Kranish pointed out in the last hour, a history going back into the 1970s with questions about racial discrimination in his companies and the Central Park Joggers. He simply is not a credible messenger, I think, in the African-American community. And, look, it's important to note that, it is not just the African-American community. The electorate is growing inexorably more diverse, and Donald Trump is facing historic negatives with Hispanic Americans as well. And his proposal this week to significantly cut legal immigration over time would have a significant impact on the Asian American community, and I think he may struggle there. So you may see an across-the-board question in the Republican Party after this election, win or lose, about whether they can sustain a path that has them facing so many challenges among all of these growing diverse groups in America.
All right, it's really just getting underway, as is our conversation with you, Ron and Jason. We're going to take a short break for now, but again, live pictures inside the Great Faith Ministries International Church and outside there in Detroit. We'll be right back.